Testing the mic. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Testing.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jah. Tonight we are discussing the Liberian agricultural sector. This is our series about discussing all the different fabrics or the pillars that hold up the Liberian economy. Also, we will be carrying on another series on the ethnic group, but tonight we're going to be discussing the agric sector in Liberia. With me to discuss this, I have a former lecturer at the University of Liberia and also a former research officer of CARI, Mr. Dixon Tuope. Mr. Tuope he graduated from the University of Liberia in 1983 with a bachelor, that's a cum laude. He has a master's degree in plant pathology and botany from Mississippi State University. He's married since 1987. He has 4 kids, that's Festus, Rita, Patience, Dr. Rosemary, and Louis, that's 5. He also wants us to mention that he has 10 brothers and 8 sisters. Mr. Tuope taught at the Osino High School. He taught biology and chemistry. He served as a research assistant and research officer at the Central Agricultural Research Institute, CARI. He also was an instructor of science, mathematics, biology, and economics at the Protestant Methodist Resource Center School in Danane, La Côte d'Ivoire. Also in 1988 to 2002, Mr. Tuope served as instructor of agriculture and botany at the University of Liberia. Mr. Tuope, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Mr. Dennis, thank you very much. It is a pleasure to be here, and for me it is an honor for this invitation. So thank you very much. And I also want to thank you for the work that you are doing here, Focus on Liberia.
Thank you so much. Right now, we have a new government, and the issue of agriculture has been front and center for this government. We also see that a lot of time, even before this government came to power, we had a lot of money being pumped into agriculture in Liberia. So we want to discuss the agricultural sector, looking back from the early 80s, during the war, after the war, and even now. So let's start by just telling you basically what is agriculture.
Thank you. Okay. There are 2 words we'll be using tonight, so let me just give simple definitions 3 words. So let me give simple definition for each of these 3 words. The first is farming. The second word is agriculture. And the third is crop instead of plant. So let me give simple definition for this word before we go ahead so that those who will be listening can follow us. What is farming? Farming is the art of cultivating the land to produce crops, instead of saying plant, to produce crops and animals for the benefit of man. That's farming. The second word is agriculture. What is agriculture? Agriculture is the art and the science of cultivating the land to produce crops and animals for the use of man. Now, there comes the third word, crop. And when I was teaching agriculture, this is the definition I gave. Some of my professors didn't agree with it, but that's fine. A crop, by definition, apart from forest trees, is a plant that has utility, or that has an economic value for man. By man, I mean the human person. That means such a plant can be used to provide food and fiber. It can be used to provide housing. It can be used to provide clothing. It can be used to provide shelter. It can also be used to provide medicine. And finally, it can be used for beautification, which we call aesthetic value. So in agriculture, any plant that can be used for any of these purposes is described as a crop instead of using the word plant.
Thank you. So Those are three basic definitions. Now let me come to so agriculture for my sake.
Yeah.
So, but we have various types of agriculture. Do you mind discussing those, especially when it comes to Liberia?
Okay. Now let's put agriculture is a whole field. So we will not, if we start, we will not go into detail. But let's just put agriculture into three different big categories. First, the plant and the animal aspect. We see agronomy. Then they break it up. Some people's horticulture, but the plant and the soil aspect we put one side. That one big group of, one big branch of agriculture. So we just say agronomy. Then you have the animal aspect, animal science. Then the social science aspect, some people say the economic or the management aspect, which is agricultural economics. And that aspect entails a lot of things, the farm management, the marketing, all these things into that group. Then also the engineering aspect, agricultural engineering. So we can just break agriculture part into these basic areas. The plant and soil area, the animals area, the engineering, and then the management aspect of agriculture. So for the purpose, let's just put them into those categories.
Thank you. So when we talk about agricultural products, say for Liberia, what are some of our agricultural products?
Okay. Now, let's look at the plant aspects of agriculture. Our products will be our rubber, the coffee, the cocoa, oil palm, we say palm nut, and just at the end of the Tobert administration, they introduced the concept of coconut palm, coconut as we call it. Then that's the bigger ones. Then we have, of course, the rice, but we are not exporting rice, but it's a product. It has potential. Then we have the plantains, the bananas, and other small crops. Then the animal side, while we were having mainly that was poultry, but there you have piggery, the pigs, and then the cattle. Okay, then we have things like the sheep and the goat, but those are just small aspects. We don't export them. Even for the cattle, we don't.
Right. So now, if we look at the climate of Liberia, I know there are other discussion on what we are producing. The climate of Liberia is favorable to which agricultural products?
Okay, for nearly the ones that we are growing in Liberia, it depends on the location. For example, for rubber, Liberia is good for rubber, but not every part in Liberia is good because of elevation. Rubber grows at low elevation. So along the sea coast, if you were to divide Liberia, you cannot produce economically rubber in places like River G, in Grand Gire. Nimba, the lower Nimba you can. The upper part, the road from Monrovia, if you are leaving Monrovia on the right side of Nimba, passing through Nimba, the right side will be okay. But the left, that will be the upper part. That's high elevation. Rubber will not do well. I will explain later. Then, but Grand Bassa is okay. River says Magibi, Magibi is where we got the largest rubber plantation. But places like Lofa, except lower part from between Bon and Salaye, Zaza, past Zaza, if you grow rubber, then something wrong with your thinking. That's high elevation. Bapulu, no. Lower in Cape Mount, lower part, okay. But going towards Bapulu, no. That's high elevation. Okay. But for coffee and cocoa, these are the crops that are sensitive. For coffee and cocoa, it's fine. these areas are named are also because a survey was done. These areas that are named are what I say these places are not good for
rubber.
They are ideal places for coffee and for cocoa.
What's about rice?
Yes, rice is a unique crop. Particularly you can grow rice in every county in Liberia, and over the years our people are proving that.
There were talks that rice cannot be grown on a mass scale. Yes. That's what we heard before.
Or it cannot be grown on a mass scale. I don't know what they were referring to, but you can grow rice on a mass scale. The problem is the topography of Liberia is kind of peak and valley, is hilly. So like here you can get like 500, 1,000 acres of land as flat as you can see, because here in the United States, other places like I went to school in Mississippi. If you get in the Mississippi Valley, as far as your eye can go, it's just flat land. So we don't have that kind of land in Liberia, but there are large spaces in Liberia that are flat. So not that you can't grow rice, you can grow rice, but how you grow it is the problem. I think those people who say you cannot grow rice on a large scale, they were talking in terms of mechanization.
And we will come to mechanization.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the soil, because we talk about the climate, also the soil. Yeah. I also read that somewhere that the soil of Liberia, because it does not really keep the water because of it's a tropical rainforest, so it's not like Ghana or other savanna land that is very rich in growing these crops. Yeah, I want you to speak to that.
Well, there are a lot of research was done as to the soil in Liberia. Mainly, is the soil in Liberia, except along the sea coast, but the bulk of the soil is a clay soil, very thick. Okay, so that is why, like coffee and cocoa, especially for cocoa, which is sensitive, it will not grow in certain areas. Okay, but for rice, yes.
Okay, let's come to the Ministry of Agriculture. I know there are institutions in Liberia, that promote that, or that are for agriculture.
Yes.
Starting with the Ministry of Education, and I know we have other institutions like Kari, where you worked before.
Yeah.
Discuss with me, what is the role of the Ministry of Education when it comes to agriculture, and all these other institutions like LPMC and all that?
Okay, now, the agriculture actually started gaining momentum during the Turnbull administration. Okay, in 1971, there was a group that was invited to do some feasibility studies in Liberia, and they called that the pilot project, or technical project as they call it. And that was in 1971-72, that laid the groundwork for the agricultural projects that came in later on. This was a World Bank project of about, I think, $1.6 million. The conclusion of that project, because Turnbull's idea was Liberia should be self-sufficient in producing these crops, cash crop, coffee, cocoa, rubber, then and oil palm. That was his vision. So then, at the conclusion of that pilot project, the setup was then the Liberia Coffee and Cocoa Corporation, LCCC, but that one died. Okay, then in 1977, from that same study, the setup was then the Lofa County Agricultural Development Project, LCADP, followed by the Bond County Agricultural Development Project in 1978. Okay, this county development project, their objective was to empower local farmers to produce. Their main emphasis was on rice, both upland and lowland, and then coffee and cocoa. And then also in 1978, Togo were also looking at rubber because that time Firestone was then the dominant force in Liberia for rubber production. So the other one was then the rubber development unit, and this one was to enlist local farmers to produce rubber. And then they set up also the rubber, what was rubber factory in Banga, and that factory was to where the local farmers were to take their rubber, and then the factory processed the quaculum, the solid rubber, into bales, and then export it. Okay, then you had then followed by the NCRDP, which is the Niba County Rural Development Project, and this project was backed by the Federal Republic of Germany. And then later on, we had the Southeastern Rural Development Project, and this was a European Union, EU project. They had a pilot project. The actual project was to start in 1990 when the war came. And the pilot project, the EU project, was to cover the Southeast, Grand Gire. At that time, there was no River G, but right now it would have been Grand Gire, River G, Sino, Grand Cru, and Maryland. And the main focus was only in three areas: rice, upland, and lowland, and then coffee and cocoa. That was the focus of the EU project. Then we had LPMC, which started earlier. Now, the purpose of LPMC was to buy the produce, mainly that were coffee and cocoa,
from the farmers,
process them, put them into a form that will be acceptable on the international market, and then sell it. That was the premise of LPMC. Then, before then, also the other institution we like to talk about is WADA, the West African Rice Development Association. We started in 1971. First by 11 West African countries. Right now the membership is 25. Now the protocol of that in the founding of the West African Rice Development Association, Togo then proposed that Liberia should have the headquarters. So Liberia became the headquarters country for WADA. And then was given WADA had his office in E.J. Roy. And then the field office was at Fender. Okay. Now, WADA, and then they set it up at the level of a diplomatic mission. WADA employees in Liberia had immunities. And then also a political support from the government of the Republic of Liberia. So Liberia had a headquarters, but then after the military coup, the political support that was envisaged from the outset was not being provided by the military government. So the governing body decided to move the headquarters from Liberia, since Liberia was not given the support that was necessary. And then the late Philip Kufuor agreed, and then the headquarters were moved to Bouaké in La Côte d'Ivoire, Africa Coast. But then later on, when Africa Coast got into problem, they temporarily moved the headquarters from Bouaké, or the administrative function. The research center is still in Bouaké, but the administrative function is in Cotonou, Benin.
So let's come to today now. What's the status of all these organizations and these institutions, including, again, our Ministry of Agriculture? Okay.
Now, for example, BCADP died because, and this is where we will end our discussion. BCADP died because what? It was government-owned, so it dies. CADP dies because what? Government dies, and it dies with the government. Then LCC, as I said earlier, by 1983, it went broke. Okay. The quarry, the plantation is still there, but that was government owned, so it did not. It needs. I'm not there now to know whether they have started the quarries. I'm not sure.
But you say this institution died and government died, but we still have government.
No, it's let me not say administration.
Right.
Because when the administration died, the institution died. And
so there's no continuity.
No.
And why is that? Because one government succeeds the other. So
okay, now let me this is where we'll spend some time on this one. Now, the Ministry of Agriculture. Now, it depends on. Also, this is where we'll be going. What should be the function of the Ministry of Agriculture? This is where we will be going. Now, the Ministry of Agriculture is supposed to serve as a guidance, set the parameters for the production of crops and animals in the Republic of Liberia. Okay, so from time to time, depending on the administration, they will place emphasis on certain aspects of agriculture. Okay, which is understandable, that politics. So then, all these institutions, as I said, the money that was given, because the management was in the hand of the government, each administration, each person or each administration has its own objective.
Right.
So then, from shifting from administration from one administration to another will be a shift of priorities.
Right.
And this is what has happened to us from the Turbo time to the Doe time. Turbo has a blueprint. When Doe got there, he modifies the blueprint. But then the war came in, and everything collapsed.
I was reading on the Ministry of Agriculture website, and this is their mission. This is the reason why, according to Liberia, the Ministry of Agriculture exists, to create an enabling environment for a more dynamic and vibrant agricultural sector to ensure sustainable food security and employment opportunities for all Liberians. Is that enough?
Well, that one, well, at the time, when the Ministry of Agriculture was founded, that was enough. At this time, they need to actually say specifically what the ministry is supposed to do, or what government. Right. In other words, what should be the role of I think our discussion is what should be the role of government in agriculture.
And what you say to that? Now,
this is my opinion. People may disagree. I believe that government should have what I call a quadrupodial national agriculture policy, meaning government should have an agriculture policy that is seated on 4 pillars or legs. And these legs are education, research, extension, and support services. Now, I say these are the legs. Then there should be a policy. Now, the government also needs to think, what is our priority? What do we want to achieve 10 years from now on, 20 years from now on, 30 years from now on? Put into, and then lay out a national blueprint. For example, let's look at the crops we were talking about: rubber, coffee, cocoa, oil palm, and coconut, or coconut palm as we call it. What the government should say, well, for rubber, the modern varieties now will come into production between 6 to 8 years, let's say 10 years. So this is 2018. Let's say by 2040, the government should say, well, Liberia will be #1 producer of rubber. how much does it cost? I mean, what will it require? Because there must be a policy.
Right.
Okay. For cocoa, for example, right now, La Côte d'Ivoire is the world's largest producer of cocoa, which is producing 30% of all cocoa. Okay? So, then followed by Ghana, then Indonesia, Nigeria, Cameroon. Okay? So, if Liberia decides, say, well, for cocoa, the modern varieties will take 3 to 4 years to come into production. Liberia can say, well, 15 years from today, from 2018, Liberia will be the largest producer of cocoa. That is the goal. Do that to all the crops. Do that for our food crops like rice, cassava, plantains, banana. Set the national agenda. Then, these are the priorities. Write a blueprint. Then, that is the program. And then the pillars now will be education. Because to do all these things, you need a trained manpower. Those who have the knowledge. Okay, that's the education.
Right.
Then you have the research. The purpose of research is to see what options, they call that technologies in agriculture, but that is a big word. What technologies are adaptable to our Liberian condition in terms of the rainfall, the sunshine, okay, the soil types that we have in Liberia. Which technologies are adaptable? Research will identify those ones. What kinds of crop can be grown in which area? That is the function of research. Then, that information is technical information, which the farmers cannot use. That comes in extension. The extension then will take this technical information, which is scientific, translate it into a form without changing the basic underlying information. Translate this information into form that the farmers can understand and apply. So extension, we say extension is the gap between research and the farmer, or the bridge. Extension try to bridge the gap between research and the farmer. Now for support services, as I said, education, research, extension, to take that information from research to the farmer, because it is the farmer that will use it,
right,
not the research. Now, for support services is where the government comes in. Government now, because right now, no farmer in Liberia has the capacity to go to a financial institution and ask for loan, or go to a foreign government to ask for loan. You will be crazy to do that. It is only the government that has the capacity to do this negotiation. So, government as a support, in the support aspect of agriculture, has the capacity to negotiate with these financial institutions, foreign governments and foreign organizations for aid. Either they give it as aid or as loan. Then government now will give this loan to the farmers and encourage the farmers in the counties. For example, group of counties, maybe 2 or 3 can combine and form one unit. They write their own, from the national program, they write their own program as to what kind of crops they are going to deal with in that, their unit. Then they take the loan or the grant from the government. They appoint their own management that is accountable to them. Okay? But the system that failed, which we have today, is everything is controlled by the Ministry of Agriculture, the government. So the BCADP, the LCADP, the managers were not accountable to the farmers, right, in those locations. Rather, they were accountable to the Minister of Agriculture. So inasmuch they satisfy the Minister of Agriculture, whether they do something or not, their job was secure. So if we take these resources and put them into the hands of the farmers, they know what they want, and they select their own. They appoint with the guardians of the ministry. I'm not saying the ministry must be out, but the ministry should serve as a guide, so that If you are manager and you're not doing well, you don't pleasing the farmers, they can fire you the next morning. And if you have that at the back of your head, you will do well.
So now,
Yeah.
current state of agriculture, I see there are a lot of stories where a lot of money has been pumped into agriculture. I was on the Daily Observer or Liberian Observer online newspaper, and I see somewhere 13 million this way, 8.2 million, this million, all being pumped into agriculture.
Yeah.
So what you are saying is, I mean, where is this money? I don't know if you have any current data on the state of affairs of agriculture.
Well, I don't have. Sometimes I get frustrated. The thing is, you cannot put money into something where there is no plan. Because if they have a plan, right now there is no plan. So if you put in the money, let's take our good friend, USA. Let's say USA give 20 million. They will send their experts there and pay them from that same 20 million. There is no plan. They are going there to develop a plan. Is that plan? Is it the plan that the farmers want? No. So it is good that they are willing to put in money. But I think the government, the present government, the Joshua administration, what they need to do, first thank these people that it is good they give the money. But where is the National Agricultural Development Plan? There is no plan. You put money into a place where there is no plan. 10 years from now on, we'll be at the same point where we are today.
I know these people are very qualified people because when President Salif took office, Dr. Chris Stowe was the agriculture minister.
Yeah.
He was coming from Strayer University as the president.
Yeah.
I mean, are you telling me these people, including Dr. Stowe, they don't have a plan?
The government, you see, the problem is, I know Dr. Chris Stowe. Even right now, we got a lot of doctors in Liberia, but the government itself does not have a plan right now. So, the thing is, the president needs to set the priorities, and then they develop the priorities into a national plan.
Okay.
It is that plan that will invite the money. But if you have the money and try to make the plan on the basis of the money you have, that's fiasco. And this is what we have been having. You see, there has been a lot of money put into agriculture in Liberia by the World Bank. Why we don't have the farmers today? Why we don't have the farms today? The farmers are still there.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't have the farms. The crops that they say were planted, you can't see them. Now, we went through long war. Africa also went through war, though theirs was not as long as ours. But 2016, the record, La Côte d'Ivoire is the world's largest producer of cocoa. Why? Because they took the money and invest into the farmers. So the war came, everybody run away. After the war, they went back and cleaned their cocoa farms.
And I was coming to that as to what can we learn from these neighboring countries. And you use Ivory Coast, for instance, because I too was in Ivory Coast and there's a lot of food.
Yeah.
What can we learn from them? What are they doing differently?
Yes, the way, this is why I was like, in La Côte d'Ivoire, if you go there, you will see the farmers. This one got his coffee farm. This one has his cocoa farm. These farms are for the individuals, not government bringing people together say, you do farming. No. Government support them. Is that our concept of government owned in Liberia, government schools are not good. If there is government toilet, it's a mess. If there is government pump, you go there, you open the pump and you leave and go. Whole day water will be running. Okay, you know that how we call it. That Liberia is a capitalist state. Okay, so we have that concept. We have that concept of private enterprise. So to mix that with a communal life or communism is where we have our problem. So
explain.
Now, let's take agriculture for example. If what if in the past the money that was received, the loan or the grant, whatsoever you call it, that was received for agriculture, the government had put that money into the farmers themselves. Say, for example, government say, well, we want to, by 30 years from now on, Liberia will be the largest producer of natural rubber. And we'll have 3 times the size of Firestone. You don't need a big plantation. If you have 1,000 farmers, for example, each farmer with 1,000 acres of land, that's each farmer with 1,000 acres of land. 1,000 by 1,000 is 1 million acres. That will be the size of Firestone. So, if you guide these people and they produce and they got this land for the next 30 years, they will be producing. Whether there is war, if there is war, they will run away. After the war, they will come back on their farm and continue. But if there is government leading, if the government collapses, everything collapses, and this is our problem. So, as I said, we need to develop a policy that put agriculture into the hands of the farmers that will do the farming, where government serves as a guide. And this is what they do in the Africa. I was in Africa from 1993 to 1997.
Elijah Momba is on Facebook, say the problem is not plan, but a system. Let the donations come and see the system working. In Liberia, we lack system. So Elijah is saying, no system. We need system, not plan. What do you say to Elijah?
Well, I don't know his definition of system and plan. When you do plan, as I was saying, what kind of system will you put into it? Maybe we're talking about the same thing in different, when giving it 2 different names.
Okay.
Now, if you have an agricultural system, say, well, government say, well, this is the direction we are going. We will produce this crop. At this time, this is where we want you farmers, this is what we want you, Liberia wants to achieve. Draw out the plan. Then give it to them. From that plan, let them extract as to what they will do. Then give them the support and create the environment under which they can work. That is what I'm talking about. I think it is the same thing I believe he's describing.
Okay, great. Former Nigerian President Yakubu Gowon said, if agriculture goes wrong, everything goes wrong. Then we have, I think it was from India. Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India, said everything can wait, but not agriculture. Okay. Then the father of Green Revolution said from India also, if agriculture goes wrong, nothing goes right. Prince Nico, for instance, in his song Green Revolution, he said, who will plant before we chop? He said government will plant or God will throw manna from heaven.
Okay, the Bible says the days of manna are over. Okay, I think what the emphasis they are making is for example, women that can cook, they have great control. They make their husbands lazy so that they can have control over them. Because if they can control your stomach, they take you like a child. Hey, honey, come eat. They don't want you to cook, because if you can cook, you are independent. So, but once you cannot cook, you are dependent. Then they can control you. So what they're saying is, the one who say everything can wait. Because when you get up in the morning, you brush your teeth, the next thing you think about is not how much gas you got in your car, but how much what you got in your stomach.
Right.
So you can't leave that with anybody. And then also you can't say, like people say, no, produce this one, leave out this one. There are certain things which are not feasible, but which people do for the sake of security. For example, China is the world's largest producer of rice. Okay, why is America producing rice? Yes, because they could have said, well, China saying you can produce rice efficiently, produce the rice, we can produce weapons efficiently, let's produce weapons, and then we exchange. No, suppose there is a conflict, and China say, no, we don't sending you the rice, what will you do? You die from hunger. So you can put everything one side, but as far as the stomach is concerned,
you can't wait.
You can't wait.
We have a Facebook post from Panendo. He said, can we achieve full self-sufficiency in 1 to 2 years if this new administration makes agriculture the focus? Can we?
1 to 2 years with the state is not possible. I tell you why. First, Liberia is, you can travel from Liberia to Ganta. That's the best you can go. The rest is headache. From Monrovia to Ganta. If you pass that all the way, it will be from Monrovia to Buchanan. The rest is headache. Liberia right now is not accessible. So you can't do it within 2 years. It's technically, economically, it's not possible. Technically, it's not possible. But what the government can do is set a goal. You need to set a goal. Say, well, by this time, you will be at this level. But to say in 2 years, you can devote all the resources to agricultural production, you will not go beyond rainy season coming, you will not go beyond Ganta. If you want to go beyond Ganta, there are 2-3 days of travel you're talking about.
So besides the goal, what can this administration do, that is less than 1 month in office, to make Liberia self-sufficient so that we can grow what we eat and eat what we grow? What can we do?
Okay. This is what I would suggest. As I said, this is what I would suggest. Right now, there is pressure on government. Oh, produce right next year. No, that would be unrealistic. What they need to do now, you got people in Liberia. You don't need, they got a lot of people. For agriculture, there was a lot of people that are trained in agriculture. So what they need to do is put a team together and let the government say, well, for example, for rice, in 10 years, we want Liberia to be self-sufficient in rice production. Okay, but self-sufficient, people say, is the quantity you produce without any importation. That's correct. But let's modify that definition by saying the quantity of rice we produce without the need to import. So let the government say, for example, we want Liberia 10 years from now on to be self-sufficient in rice production. Then set the parameters. That means you need to group the counties, or they can go individually, but there must be a support. There must be a support. Say, well, if the southeast will be one group, well, upland and lowland, there are other places where you, like in our area, we don't have big swamps, so you can't talk about swamp rice. That will be upland rice, which is rain-fed. In other places, like in River G, also part of Maryland, there are swamps. Those you can grow both swamp rice and upland rice. So, get these groups, let them decide. Not this one producing one lot and you say that's farm. No, they concentrate on producing rice. Then over a period of time, the one who is producing rice will just concentrate his effort on producing rice.
Right.
Let's say 50 acres, 100 acres, 150 acres of land to cultivate into rice. If you have 10,000, 20,000 farmers all over the country, then we are going towards self-sufficiency. But the one we do where maybe 1 acre, 2 acres of land, it will not make it because it's not everybody producing rice.
So before we take our break,
yeah,
I want us to talk about mechanized farming. There's so much attention that's being put. I read again in the Liberian paper that the farmers are calling for mechanized farming.
Okay.
What is mechanized farming and how is that feasible for the country Liberia at this stage?
Okay. Now, mechanized, when they say mechanized farming, they're talking about using machines in the process of cultivation. In the area of land clearing, you use the machine to clear the land, use the machine to plow it, you use the machine to plant, for example, rice. For harvesting, you also use the machine. So where machine is used mainly as a means of production is mechanized. Now then, the question is Liberia ready for mechanized farming? Who has the money? My answer is no, and I tell you why. First is besides the topography, the land, you have the technical limitations. If you buy a caterpillar, how many people that are there that know how to use the caterpillar to clear the land? Then you have the technical aspects. If the caterpillar breaks down, how many mechanics are there that can fix it? If you have the mechanics, where will you have the spare parts? So if the caterpillar breaks down during your land clearing process, you don't have the mechanics, you don't have the spare parts. What happened to the farming? Then economics. How many farmers in Liberia can buy a wheelbarrow before we talk about tractor? The implements. Because the tractor is one part. The plow that you attach to the back of the tractor, which is the implement that you will use to plow and harrow the land, is different. Then on the same tractor, you remove the plow and attach another implement in which you put the seeds. As you drive, it plants the seed. Who can afford it? When it comes to harvest, the combine harvester, who knows how much a combine harvester has? Of course, nobody. Now, who can afford, right now, which farmer in Liberia can buy a combine harvester? I doubt it. So then, if let's say, then they say government, how many combine harvester government will buy? You can't transport combine harvester from Monrovia to Maryland. You are joking. It will remain somewhere between Ganta and, if you lucky, it past Ganta, between Ganta and Tapeta, somewhere in between there, is stuck in the mud, and it will be there. If you are going to Sani Kwele Way, once you pass Gwendi, that's it. It will stick in the mud, and then you are there.
Hold your thought on mechanized farming. We're going to talk more,
Okay.
But at this time, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to be right back.
Okay,
Keep tuned.
it was not correct, actually, that it was a waste of time for us. But then when we went into practice, we practiced this method. For farmers, this system is very good because it helps you to save your seed, your rest. You put small rest on the nursery, you gain more yield, and you spend less seed, you get more seed. So this is one of the methods. I love that. And also, it helps us the spacing system to manage the rest, the water. They don't give you problem to weed, this, that. We have a lot of experience. I have a lot of experience in this, and it helped me a lot because for me, I'm very, very, very much happy to see my field like this. Because if I say here at 3 kilo, you don't believe it. The past year we've been farming, the 2003, 2008 and 9 turned over 2-3 bags of rest seeds we wasted here just to cultivate this. But today, this method helped us only 8 kilo. We were able to cultivate this to plant. So this is a help for us. So this system, I think when we follow this system, it will help us. We spend less, we get more.
Do you think the majority of Liberian farmers can adopt the system, or would it be?
Oh yes. It can do this.
All right.
It will help them a lot.
Okay. What would they need in order to do it?
They only need their instrument. When I say instrument, they need material, they need teaching to show them how to do it, and they will continue.
The teaching.
Yes.
The teaching.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's all they need, teaching.
Yes, and instrument for them to get it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. And you will be training? Have you been training other farmers? Not yet.
Not yet.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, not yet.
You still
but
like...
we have, if we have the opportunity to go and train the other farmers, we can do so.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Congratulations on this nice field.
At the Biofarm Liberia Limited. Come on inside. Don't cross on it. Come on.
Walk.
Just walk in between. Just in between. Okay, come on. Okay. Come on this way. It's good. All these are eggplant, okay? Good food for you.
Yeah.
All right, you're gonna eat some before you go back
Yeah.
to United States. You will eat some. You see one here?
Yeah.
Go touch it. Go touch it. See? It's very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming up. Touch it. Touch it. See?
Yeah.
You see one big one here?
Wow, bigger one.
Yeah. You're gonna show it to your friend, right?
Yeah.
This is the farm in Africa.
Yeah, what's that,
Okay.
Abigail?
In Liberia.
Yeah, what's
Okay.
that, Abigail?
We grow everything we grow here
Yes.
is organic, okay?
Eh?
Organic
Mommy,
farming,
come
that's
here
what we are
and
doing.
see the oligarchy.
Huh? Huh? What is this?
Huh?
What is this?
Say
You know
cabbage.
this?
Say cabbage.
Cabbage.
Cabbage?
Yes.
Okay, touch it a little bit so you can shoot your friend. Look at me. Is that big?
Yeah.
It's coming out good? Okay, let's go this way.
It's bigger.
Yeah,
Say that.
go over there.
So go there.
Go over there. So we can take some more.
Turn around.
And turn around.
Okay,
Eh?
touch the cabbage.
Touch the cabbage.
On the other side, turn so.
Right here.
So
Right here. This way. Touch it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Touch the
the
big one.
big one. The big one.
The
The
big
big one. The big one over there.
No more?
Right there.
Yeah, the big one. Come
The
and
big
touch
one.
it.
Touch it. The one grandma is showing you.
Yes, yeah.
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 And touch the other one.
Touch the other one.
Oh, bigger.
Huh?
It's bigger, giant one.
Yeah, I'm gonna send it to you, okay? Huh? Yeah? Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Come to this.
Yeah. Don't just be gentle, okay? Be gentle. Just right here. Yeah. Okay, just like that. Be nice. Be nice, boy. Be nice. Look at it. Look at it. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're still growing up, okay? They haven't matured yet.
Okay, let's go to the
Let's go.
airplane.
Let's go to the airplane. Let's come back. Okay? You want mommy to take our picture, huh?
Now I hate to change.
I don't like to change one either, but we get it.
You always complain about. Because if you say throw the thing away,
Wow, we are doing good.
Did you on the show?
What did we do? I know. We just got live, but this one back. I would do for dinner.
Welcome back to Focus on Liberia. And we are focusing on agriculture in Liberia. With me tonight, we have Mr. Dixon Tuope. He's a former lecturer at the University of Liberia, also a research officer at CARI. Before the break, we were discussing mechanized farming. And mechanized farming, according to our guests, is not possible within the next few years. So tell us the roadmap before we can achieve mechanized farming, Mr. Tuope.
Okay. Well, as I said, for mechanized farming, as I said, the limitations. First is the technical limitation. Then the second part is the economic or financial limitations. So we go through first the technical limitations. To have mechanized farming, you need trained people that will operate the machines. You need trained people to repair or replace parts on those machines when they are worn out or damaged.
So how long is it going to take us to get to that point of mechanized farming?
Well, actually, I don't know how long it will take, but it will take more than 5 years. And then also we're talking about the financial limitations. How many farmers in Liberia can afford to buy a tractor?
There's a comment on Facebook say, well, that's where the investors come in. People with the money can come in and the farmers can rent from them those machineries.
Yeah, the thing here is, if they come in tomorrow, if that, let's say they bring in a D7 or Caterpillar D7, the next day it breaks down. If they take it from Germany, you got to send to Germany to get a part. The farming will be waiting. Why I'm not discounting mechanized farming, but introducing it at this stage, I doubt the feasibility. It's ideal, but is it feasible? Now, my answer is no. So we need to start and make our mechanized farming as our future goal, not the present one. Say, well, because it needs to be done gradually.
Okay. Let's go to training education.
Yeah.
I know in the 1980s there was a free education for those who major agriculture at the University of Liberia.
Yeah.
And that was on the college level.
Yeah.
What is your assessment today of the training programs when it comes to agriculture, both on the secondary level, because we should start having that thought in high school,
yeah,
also on the vocational before the university?
Okay. Well, I say Tobo have a vision for agriculture. So he introduced that concept at the University of Liberia. When you enter the College of Agriculture and Forestry were his priorities. So when you enter the College of Agriculture and Forestry, once you get a grade point of C, that's 2.00, you have what we call T, tuition. You have a tuition waiver. From 2.00 to 2.5, you have a tuition waiver. You don't pay tuition as a Liberian. Then from 2.5 to 3, you have T and B, tuition and books. You pay your tuition. The books you need for that semester, you just go to the bookstore and sign for them. While they were all living on the dump. If you got 3 points and above, you got tuition, books, and stipend, T, B, and S. And that was Tobo's program. And that program drew a lot of people into agriculture and forestry. Okay, so, but after the military coup, because myself, when I entered early 1979, 80, by 81, the whole program died down. Myself, I got books from that T, B, and S. They used to give us $75 every month. But they don't give it to you for after 3 months, you get 75 times 3. And those days, that was plenty money. But then, after 1981, the program was cut off. So then, you're talking about secondary school. They had the vision, so in the college, in teachers' college, they had a degree program, secondary education, agriculture. And the idea was that, because teaching is one thing, so they introduced a degree program, secondary education in Bachelor of Science in secondary education with agriculture as a concentration. Some of my friends went to that program and they graduated. But then, again, as I said, that was Tobo's plan. When Tobo died, his plan died with him. So, because they had this agricultural institution at the high schools, when you graduate with your degree in secondary education agriculture, they assign you to a high school to teach agriculture. But This is not being done nowadays.
Right. I think President Duke did some form of that with scholarship in agriculture. My question now is, to what extent, what fruit did we get from those initiatives?
Yeah, the other thing about Liberia as a whole, when we send people for training, and they acquire the training, except in technical institutions like Cari, when people acquire the training, we envy them. The old people that were there before you went for training, when you come back, they envy you. You become an enemy to them. So these people, because some of the people I'm talking about, they were not utilized in the school. For example, I had a friend, a personal friend who and myself, who worked at Cari. We work at Cari. He graduated to secondary education agriculture. The purpose was for him to go, he was supposed to be assigned to the high school to help develop agriculture program in that particular high school where he was assigned. But he could not get any assignment with any school in Liberia, though he had a degree in secondary education agriculture. So he went to Cari.
Right. Talking about Cari, because you keep mentioning Cari.
Yeah.
What is Cari? What did they do there, and what is the status of Cari currently?
Okay. Cari actually came from, it was then Central Agriculture Experiment Station, and it was referred to as government farm. So there they do the research, introduction of plant species, plant and animal species, grow them, carry, see which one were adaptable, which one were not, and then carry out some breeding aspects. So if you hear, for example, for rice, you hear the Suakogo series, Suakogo 8, Suakogo 9. These were rice varieties that were bred at Suakogo. That was that was some of the work. Even the bitter balls and peppers, for example, you used to say loafer. I forget the numbers now, but the loafer, the loafer and bond series. These were bitter, but the loafer series was the one that was used for tobogi. It's not as bitter as Kittle, but almost bitter like Kittle. So these were bitter ball varieties that were bred at Cari. Okay. Now for Cari, first it was Central Agricultural Experiment Station. But then the problem was that they took it as government farm. And in Liberia, government has a different concept. The ministers, the deputy ministers, the assistants will come from Monrovia on their way in the interior, stop at Cari. These are research plots. Okay, let's say you are doing a varietal trial on eggplants, for the one we saw just now on the video. As a researcher, let's say you are doing yield trial. The deputy minister or the minister will come, go in the field, pick out the big fruits, and then the carrot. What the director will say, he can't say anything. The same thing was with cabbage. Even our color green, they see the one, the leaves are green. Oh, pick this one, give them to me. They pick them, put them in the minister's car. You can't say to a minister, the director will not have a job. So, and the researchers at Cari were facing problems. It was CAES. So after the coup, Cari came into being 1980 after the coup, and they said they were not going to do it. They were not going to be under experiment station, which was referred to as a government farm, where government officials will go and take the research material. And there was a pushback from the Ministry of Agriculture, but with the support of USAID, UNDP, and FAO, especially for USAID, because after 1980, USAID said it was not going to participate in any agricultural experiment station because the way it was being perceived. So the government gave in, and the Central Agricultural Research Station was formed. And at the same time also, there was this management, because research is time sensitive. The one fertilizer, the time for money to buy the fertilizer, the money is not available. Then you have introduced another variable into the research project that you are carrying out. you want to apply, let's say, insecticides. To buy the insecticide, the money is not available. So that introduced another variable into the research project. So that was the problem. So then CARI was formed, and then it became a semi-autonomous agency, but still under the Ministry of Agriculture. Now, the purpose of CARI was to conduct what they call applied and adaptive research on food or plant and animal species under Liberian conditions. So if you were thinking about something to grow in the moon, CARI was not going to participate in it, because the emphasis was to do apply and adaptive research that when we do, the farmers can use. Research that will be adaptable to the culture and also of Liberia.
Was CARI also involved in animals or just plants?
Yes, CARI had both the plant aspect and the animal aspect. So there were, in fact, they wanted to do, there were a lot of animals, but then they work in how they call it, COA also. Yeah, CARI had a lot. In fact, they were doing, besides, they were doing what we call the oxen, where they were using the animals to do the plowing in the swamp, and also on secondary soil in the upland. The animals plow instead of using the tractor.
Any update as to the current state of CARI?
Or after the war came and CARI was destroyed. Now, Dr. Watts, who was the last director, I understand he is now there at CARI, but right now he is the only person. He has with him few technical, the people we refer to at the time, technical officers, who are there just to keep the system alive until somebody can listen to him. But he's the only person there right now with few technical officers. They are doing what they call germplasm collection and multiplication. It's what they are doing. But as a research station, no. Because in fact, some of the main library was damaged, the administrative building. The rice laboratory was but the rice lab and I call it seed laboratory was bombed by ECOMOS, so that one is destroyed also. But the other structures are still intact, but it means somebody to have a vision of research and then recruit people, because one person cannot make a research station. But
and research is very
it's still alive, but research, it's not functioning.
Research is very vital, like even in the interior, local farmers. Yeah. Because if you look at the time it takes to grow rice in places like Dodweken or Kaweken, it takes almost the whole time. Yeah. Okay? But if research is done to shorten the life, the time from the time you plant and ready for harvest, is there anything being done to that level so as to help farmers?
Yes. There are a lot of both upland and lowland varieties that you can plant. The maturity day, depending on the variety, between 60 to 90 days. Some come into maturity after 60 days, that 2 months. Some take 90 days, that 3 months. So if you have a variety that you harvest in 90 days, that means at least 3 times a year you have crop produce. Some of them come into maturity 75 days from the day you sow the seed up to the time you harvest.
And what is being done to train farmers, even just to feed themselves? For instance, in upland farming, there's a lot of shifting cultivation. Yeah. You farm this place, next time you go this. It's a lot of hard work.
Yes.
But I believe there can be easier methods and ways to do this, just to help the farmers themselves, the local farmers.
What happened is, there are 2 reasons why they are shifting. First, there will be a depletion of the nutrients in the soil. Then the next is weeds. So if you harvest today and you plant in the interior, that second generation there will be more weeds than ever. So this is why they shift from place to place. The first, as I say, is nutrients, so that by the time they come by, the tree that were fell are decomposed and they contribute to the nutrient contents of the soil organic matter. Okay, but then also if you harvest and plant again, you have problem with weeds. So if we have means to control the weeds, then you can take care of the nutrients issue by the application of fertilizer. Now, as to what was at Cary, there was a disconnect between the research that was done and then the information was available at Cary. The Ministry of Agriculture was inefficient in disseminating the information. So later on, this section on extension was introduced at Cary. Cary had a lot of series, how to do series. For example, how to plant bitter ball, how to grow bitter ball, how to grow okra, how to do this, the how to series. And these were extension packages then that were taken from the research directly to the farmers. So we used to do on-farm trials. We call them demonstration or trials. We do it on the farmer's farm so that they can see it.
Yeah.
But there is always resistance to the adoption of new technology, which is normal.
There are other factors that are probably that the farmers may not see, but this may also depend on what government is doing. For instance, beekeeping. We know from our grade school science, bees are involved in cross-pollination.
Yeah.
So if we do not, and here there are efforts so as to control the bees population, so there will be more bees.
Yeah.
Okay, but I think there is a disconnect, and you can talk to me about that. Whether people know the role these external factors play in the growth of plants or in farming.
Okay. Now, that is why I said from the, because we say agriculture is the art and the science. Now, the farmers, they know the arts. They don't know the science. The reason, for example, they see the bees, they will not understand that they are pollinating. They don't know that these bees are very essential to the crop that they are waiting for. So they don't know. That's the science aspect. So I think, but for beekeeping, I don't know of anybody who has been trained in beekeeping in Liberia. I'm not saying there is nobody, but I don't know of anyone that has been trained in the area of beekeeping. But the ones we have, these are things in the wild. They come and do the pollination by themselves. What they are getting is they're getting the nectaries or the sugar from the flower. But in so doing, moving from plant to plant, they take the pollen from one plant to another and then they do the pollination. They don't know they're doing pollination. All what they know is that they are collecting the nectaries from the flowers to go and make the honey. But in doing that, so they pollinate the crops.
And my cousin Jack was expert in hunting bees. So, and there are other things that that we do to, maybe without thinking their impact.
Yeah.
Like even we can go to deforestation and how they are cutting trees down for timber.
Yeah.
We can also look at, even in our own localities, we like to brush, the trees, cut them down so this whole city can be clear without knowing that, the wind and also oxygen, that whole cycle.
Yeah.
So education is key, and you talk about the 4 legs, and I don't think you can stress them enough. Yeah, on education, because everybody, and even government, needs to know, because you have to put in place policies that will protect the environment so that the place can be good for farming. Yes.
Yeah, that is why we say, in agriculture, why we want to produce, enable the farmers to produce, we also need to be conscious of our environment so that we can still produce and make the environment safe. And this is this is where the research comes in. You train the person. Not everybody will work at the research station, so because we are the people after high school, we are like it used to be RDI, which later on phased out. But the idea was to produce people trained in agriculture who were below, who were above high school knowledge, but also below the college education. They were somewhere in between. Okay? Then you are the college people, the college graduates. Then you are those who graduate degree and postgraduate degrees. The graduate and postgraduate degrees, they do the research in conjunction with those who are college degrees, but then send the information to the ministry. And then the work of the ministry was to do the extension, get in contact with the farmers, say, well, this is the information that is available. This is the, for example, rice. This rice variety will yield more than the one you are growing, and work with them in what we call demonstration plots. Plant this, let them see. But once they see, give it to them, say, well, this one, plant it, this is what we give you, plant it, this is what you have planted. Plant the two side by side. You don't need anybody to tell you. Do it the same way, treat the both the same way that you are treating the crop, and see what at the end what you will get from both fields.
Let's go back to our Facebook.
Yeah.
There is a question here or comment from Joseph Cooper.
Yeah.
He said, in the absence of mechanized farming,
Yeah.
Can our agricultural sector, can we grow more food in the absence of that? Basically, that's what Joseph is saying.
Okay. Yes. The thing is, we don't need to do at this point to go in full bloom with mechanized farming. We can do, for example, you can have, let's say you are growing a bitter bush, for example. You have, let's say, 25 acres of land, a good, very place. You can clear the land and then use, use the tractor to plow. The rest, once you plow the land, lay the ridges, the rest you can do by hand. It's not fully mechanized, but at least the tractor will help you to plow the land.
Right.
So you can do that.
Good. So I know if you are just joining us, we are focusing on agriculture. You are watching Focus on Liberia. We come your way every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. My guest tonight is Mr. Dixon Tuope. He's a former lecturer at the University of Liberia, lecturing botany and agriculture. He's also former research officer at Cary in Bong County. And if you're watching us by Facebook, please keep your questions and comments coming. We will soon be drawing down the curtains. Mr. Tuope, we have heard of a lot of companies in Liberia, like Golden Verum, Abu Dhabi, and all these companies, planting palm oil, palm nuts and all that in Liberia. And the goal here is, to provide employment. Okay, I don't know if you have current data on the impact these companies are making in terms of agriculture.
I don't. Maybe I checked. I don't see any information. I was checking. I don't see. So I can't say exactly what impact they have. But I think for the past 12 years, after the cessation of, quote unquote, cessation of war, the emphasis was on maintaining your ground. Then during the Allen administration, I think the emphasis was on the restoration of normalcy. So I think this is what the government has been fighting for the past 12 years, to make sure first that the political environment is stable. Okay. Now, we are past that stage. At least to some extent, the political environment is stable. From here on, it's now we need to plan what we want to do for the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, where we want to be. But these people that are coming, I receive them wholeheartedly. But they are coming in a vacuum. So my fear is 10 years from now on, if we don't make the plan, I don't care how much money they put, money will not do it. It's the plan say, well, this is what we're going to do. And then you put the money into what you say you're going to do. But when you get the money and put it there and then you dancing around, you use the money wheresoever you can use it quick.
Right.
And this is the problem.
All right.
So the government need to first, I don't know, I've been checking, I don't know if they have named an agricultural minister. I heard only one assistant minister for, I think, research and extension. But you need the minister proper, you need the principal deputies, and then before the assistant, when these people are confirmed, you got people in Liberia who can sit down and plan.
So
draw a blueprint.
You mentioned the agriculture minister.
Yeah.
Who should that kind of agriculture minister should be to be able to take us from where we are now to eating what we grow and grow what we eat?
Okay. Now, it needs somebody who has the courage. Yes, who has the courage to be able to bring into the system other people that will help. Because it's not, even you can have a bachelor's degree, it didn't matter. You can have a master, you can have a doctorate degree. But if you don't have the capacity to make other people shine, and this has been the problem also, because somebody coming and you think this person is going to overshadow me. That person is not worth to be a minister, regardless of which degree he or she has. It needs somebody that has the courage, because agriculture is a very big field. No one person knows it all. I don't care how many PhD you have. Okay? So then, that person will be the person who has the ability to bring these people together, motivate them, assign them responsibility, and hold them accountable.
That's a big word, accountable.
Yes.
How you do that?
Because, for example, if I'm the minister, and I say, Dennis, and then the president appoints you to be, let's say, the deputy minister for research and extension. Based on what we are planning all together, this is the direction research will go. Then it is your responsibility to make sure, first, as a minister, you can't just plan it and the inputs are not there. That means it's your responsibility. You have supervisory role over that research station. You make sure that the director recruit the people that are qualified to do the research. And then you also make sure that what we say we are going to do is being done. Not only on paper, but also in the field, that we can see it. Because you can put the research on paper, get the inputs, and then write a result without research being in the field. So the deputy minister then will hold the director of research accountable as to the inputs that are going to the research and the output that are coming from the research. But where you think, oh, if I put this person there, you will overshadow me, which has been the problem, then there is infighting. So such a person with that mentality does not worth to be a minister, regardless of what kind of degree you have or you don't have. This is my view.
Wow. Thank you so much. Before we draw down the curtains,
Yes.
I want us to just summarize, tell us, briefly, an assessment of our agricultural system, where we are coming from, where you think we're going, and what can be done to get us there.
Okay. Thank you. As I said, our policy has been that agriculture was in the hand of the government. We need to move from that direction. Let's put the agriculture in the hands of the farmers. And then the government serve as a guide. You can't be a referee and a player at the same time. Okay? So let the government serve as a guide. But the government need to determine the priorities of agriculture. What we want to achieve 10 years from now on, 20 years from now on. 30 years from now on, government need to set the parameters and then create the environment that will be conducive enough for the farmers that they are bringing together to produce what we want them to produce. Because if you don't create the environment, the plan is in vain. So the role of government, as I said, should be one, the education. Education is expensive. So government should take on the responsibility of training the manpower that will do the agriculture. Research. Research is also expensive. Besides Firestone in Liberia, I don't know of any farmer that can support research. They're looking for food to eat. So nobody will support research. So research should be a responsibility of the government. Then extension. Once we have the plan, you have the knowledge that is at research station, the extension will now take this information from where it is to the farmers that need the information. Because the information generated by research is not for research, it's for farmers. So it must reach there. Then the support. Government must serve as a pillar or the backbone to all the projects, and then create the environment where people can be free to do what they want to do. So,
thank you. That's well put. So I want to really thank you for coming.
yes.
I really like the discussion. I know the days of manna are over, so God is not going to throw manna from heaven.
No.
We have to. So before then, we used to do communal farming. Students engaged in gardening and all those things. I think they are still things that we can look at. We very much appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And if need be, we're going to call you again.
Okay.
So I have to elaborate. And this is on Facebook. There are people that are going to still be making comments. If you have time, please go on Facebook and answer their questions.
Okay.
And to all of you who are watching us by television, Facebook, or YouTube, we want to say thank you so much for this time. We've been discussing agriculture. Next week, we're going to go back to our ethnic group series. We want to discuss the history and culture of the Liberian ethnic groups and their contribution to Liberia. I want to say thank you to our studio manager and technical guy, Mr. Evangelist Patrick Ansah. I want to say thank you to our producer, Mrs. Yasendi Martin Kweye. Also want to say thank to our guest relations manager and our product engineer, Stephanie Logan Setro. Until then, from all of us at Focus on Liberia, we say God bless you, good night, and goodbye.
Fica pau.